This is Peter and Tim for the TheOCShow. This is the first episode, so we're going to start off by explaining what this is exactly and why we're doing this, and then move on to discussing the past and the upcoming live overclocking events. Go on to talk about revision 6 in 2014 for HWBot, and then finish off with Shamino leaving ASUS and the industry, having a little talk about that. But first of all, of course, let's explain what this is exactly. So Tim, what are we doing here?
So we are shooting the TheOCShow. So the TheOCShow is basically the product of a proposal made by Neo a few weeks back, saying that he was moving to a new publishing platform that could allow embedding of YouTube videos. So yeah, why not do something every 2 months? Something in which we can debrief the news, gossip, but also hardware, OC events, everything that basically happens in the OC community within 2 months in between each issue, and yeah, just summarize that and
put it out there. It's a lot easier now that we're both in Type A, right?
Yeah, that's it. And we have one full page that Neil gives us inside the OverClocker, so I think there's a big chance for us of doing something great. We'll have Vivi from South Africa doing the opening sequence for the video. Yeah, I think we will try to get some more people involved in the future, and do something cool, right?
Our schedule of the topics we're going to discuss is not fixed either, so if someone has a suggestion or wants to have some kind of a topic discussed, always send an email. It's no problem.
Sometimes there's maybe less things happening, right? There's some quarters where there might be no OC event, no big competition, so sometimes we might mix things up and maybe talk more freely about different things.
So moving on to the live overclocking events in 2013, it was quite a lot actually. It was 4 and a qualifier for a 5th one. It was happening. That is going to happen in the first week of 2014, and I think it was the biggest year for overclocking, at least for live overclocking. It was.
We didn't saw so much OC live action since 2009, 2010, which were I'd call them the kind of the past glory years we had had MOA, we had GoC, and ASUS also, the AOC was also at that time in Germany.
But never 4 or 5
never
in a
that
year.
many, yes, never that many.
So it started off in the summer with Corsair and Intel hosting the overclocking OC main event for Computex.
Yeah. So that event was basically Corsair pulled the completely stunt together, bring all the OC manufacturers, so all the hardware manufacturers together, to be together at one competition, so facing each other somehow.
Actually, that is true. It was an amazing feat, especially not only because they could get 4 of the vendors in one room competing against each other, but also because it was the launch date of Z87 and Haswell. So they had to bring in the products they've been working on for a couple of months with the release BIOSes, and then show how high they could overclock.
So things might not have been yet completely ready, right?
Exactly.
You could think of vendors that might have been probably a bit scared at the start, right? Like, oh, hey, this is just, it's not beta, but it's just ready, but you know, like, boards takes a few updates of BIOSes after launch usually to be like fully operational for overclocking, and okay, now we have this event, this is the launch date, so we better perform.
It was an amazing feat, and I'm honestly not sure if they're going to be able to do it again, because it turned out to be just a big ASUS show, right? ASUS took down 8 of the 8 freestyle categories where you could bring your own CPU.
Yeah, I think the freestyle thing is what was a major turn in that event. Is Andre Yang came with that CPU that he got with many pieces of binning, I would say. And that CPU just killed it all, right? He got it all. He won in every benchmark that was for the freestyle, and there was no chance for anyone else, basically.
Exactly, and that was the one. I'm not sure if it's a negative aspect. It's just a fact that, I mean, that happened, and all the other vendors were not happy about it. And then the second part was that it was invite only, right? There was no qualifiers. And since the beginning of live overclocking competitions, overclocking community has always asked to do as much qualifiers as possible. But it was a last minute event. It was only organized, I think, April or May, so 2 months before actual Computex.
And it was based on people that were already intending to come to Computex. So it was probably easier to arrange that way,
exactly. Right? And then actually ASUS was the next competition, right?
So they run a qualifier.
They did a qualifier on HWBot with 13 teams going to the final in Moscow, Russia. And that was a pretty interesting event.
The event was great. It was hosted at a gaming convention, sort of like a E3, but a Russian version of it. Lots of people, a lot of noise, a lot of curious people wanted to know what's going on. I think the venue was great. The competition went really well by itself. Like the rules were really good. The final ranking was also really tight until the last 15 minutes. You could not tell who was going to win.
If I remember correctly, it's because one of the Russians had a score disqualified at the top 3.
Yeah, because the way the score was calculated was really interesting. It's something that had never been done before in OC live competitions. Basically, you could compete in optional categories, so you could choose one benchmark or the other. Well, you could actually bench both, but no matter what position you would use in one, you
only
have to decide which one would be competing for the ranking. But still, you could take off rankings from the other by submitting scores of the optional benchmarks you didn't choose.
Okay.
And so if someone just gets dropped down because, like, I think it was the Russian team, they were 0.05 megahertz over the limit, and so this changed the whole ranking in the last, when they revised all the score and changed the whole podium.
So who won the competition?
So Toasty and Cyclone won
from
the
Ukraine
competition. And those are the same guys that actually,
one of the two.
Toasty is the one that won MOA like literally 2 weeks later.
That's pretty impressive too, because the ASUS competition was early October, and then MOA was mid October.
Yeah,
and then the number 2 of the ASUS competition, Extreme Addict, then was third in the MOA competition as well, which is an impressive feat, right? For those two people to within 1 month qualify in the top 3 of or win.
Qualifying is one thing for both competition, and then second actually rank in top 3 of both competitions.
That's pretty impressive. So the MOA competition this year was the 6th edition of MOA overall, and the format changed a little, right?
Yeah, they decided for this 6th edition to add one more competition day. So the first day is classic MOA. It's pretty much the same thing we've used to be in the previous years. So 3 benchmarks, a ranking for each.
And the performance gain over a stock
with a
result.
percentage calculation. Normal MOA. And the second day was interesting because it was a freestyle competition aiming at breaking records.
Yeah, that's true. So there was $2,000 US in total, 1,000 from MSI and then 1,000 of their partner Corsair. That was going to whoever broke a world record in the 11 preset benchmarks could get 2,000 USD home. And we had Rabuas from Brazil, Vivi from South Africa, and an OC Winforce from Korea. Each take that amount of money back home, which is a nice thing, right?
Well, especially Abuas, right? Abuas basically is the one that was at the top of that. I think the one that shined out the most on that freestyle day. He basically benched for 8 hours straight Unigine Heaven. And I think updated 5 or 6 times.
5 times he updated the world record.
So like keep pushing it. Right?
That was impressive indeed. And then that was the last one that's already been held. And
so
then
that
next month, actually in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks,
we have the Galaxy OC Carnival in Shanghai, which is again invite only, but also a little bit different than the previous event.
The Galaxy event is really inspired, I think, from the MOA format. So it's the same thing. One day is competition. I think it's a set of 4 benchmarks. From what I've saw so far, it will be essentially 3D benching.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think Galaxy for that event is focusing on pushing the 780 Ti, right?
The Hall of Fame card.
Yes. So they will basically bench 3D on that day. The second day is going to be freestyle.
Okay, but the freestyle there is it's again different from MOA because the money that is raised by breaking world record is not going to the overclockers that actually break the records.
True,
It's going to charity.
Yes, well, that will be interesting, right? Because we've seen overclockers like Kingpin that took a great fun, I would say, to just publish score or like bring up scores like records before the MOA freestyle started.
We saw that before MOA, like 2 weeks, or no, sorry, 2 days before MOA kicked off. He set the records in all of the categories that MOA was focusing
especially
on.
Firestrike, which is the category is actually Kingpin is interested in. And well, the result of that is no one benched Firestrike for MOA freestyle,
for the freestyle,
right? And I'm pretty sure, well, probably the way it's conducted for the Swiss side is going either be the same, or Kingpin is going to feel bad to take money away from charity.
Yeah, but we don't know what the charity is, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. It's an interesting. If you know, if Galaxy intended this from the start, if that is their plan to have EVJ not, it's geniuses inside Galaxy. I'm not sure if it's actually the plan, but geniuses.
Yes.
So the last overclocking competition is actually not in 2013. It's next year.
But qualifiers were run.
Yeah, exactly. So it's in the first week of it's the second week of January during CES on January 9th, 8th or 9th.
Yeah, so that's going to be Kingston, right?
The Kingston, and it's called the HyperX OC Takeover overclocking event. And indeed, the qualifiers have already been run on HWBot, and there's 5 people that qualified for this event. So it's a smaller final. And we have from the US, we have Splave, we have Loud Silence, and then we have from China D4Dog.
Yes.
We have Vivi from South Africa, and then we have again Extreme Addict from Poland. So he's the one that qualified for 3 of these overclocking events.
He's gonna do them all, right?
Yeah. Well, he's invited to the Galaxy one as well, right? So that's 4 out of 5. Yeah.
Well, Extreme Addict, I'm looking forward to see you again.
But that's next year.
So that's a quite busy schedule, like.
Oh yeah.
That's 2013. Starting 2014. Right now, MSI already confirmed there will be MOA next year as well.
Yeah, that's the first time as well. First time they ever confirm in the next edition of MOA.
Yeah. And so what about HWBot? Is there anything special planned for next year?
So in 2014, and this is something that we've already discussed on the forums as well, we're gonna add another competitive overclocking platform on HWBot.
So that's what you call revision 6?
Yeah, it's called revision 6, and usually a revision introduces a new point algorithm or new overclocking leads, but rest assured, I mean, nothing is changing on the site as you know it today. We're basically bringing a new platform that exists next to what exists today, and the platform is more focused on differentiating the overclocking competitions. Okay. So if you compete today in, for instance, an Extreme Overclockers League, it doesn't matter what kind of hardware you have, you will always be competing against the people that have a Core i7 and have those high-end graphic cards.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So what we want to do is want to differentiate that. We want to have a Core i7 class, a Core i5 class, Core i3 class, an AMD FX class, AMD APU class.
Okay, so everyone only not only, but faces in those those classes, so the people that have the same hardware.
So people that have an AMD APU and want to overclock an AMD APU and want to be competitive with an AMD APU, they'll be competing against people that have that same APU. Yes. They will no longer be competing against the people that have the financial possibilities to make or to buy a Core i7, break it, and then get a new one.
But if you submit a score to that class, it still counts for the.
Of course,
I would say the legacy ranking of HWBot.
Yeah, sure. Everything just basically comes in one big database, so you'll still be able to browse those results as well. Yeah. And like I said, the Overclockers League, the Enthusiast League, the team, they all stay on the existing site, so nothing changes.
Be assured, it won't break anything.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's maybe switch to another topic, which is Shamino leaving ASUS.
Yeah, leaving the industry.
Let's maybe, can you give a short presentation of who is Shamino?
I don't have my PowerPoint with me, but I think like Shamino leaving the industry is quite a bombshell that dropped 2 weeks ago now. Yeah,
lots of people talked about it online. There were forum posts about it. I think probably Shamino was his inbox. His inbox was full of messages, right?
It's amazing how one person can change so much in the industry. I think Shamino is one of those people that really innovated. He's at the same level as, for example, Oscar Wu, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
In terms of pushing overclocking and building products specifically for overclocking, he did a lot of revolutionary work.
So he started first Foxconn. That's when we discovered him.
Yeah, he started out as a reviewer for VR Zone, which is a Singaporean news site. Yeah, and he was basically the in-house overclocking, doing all the crazy liquid nitrogen modification. Competing basically with High-Profile back in the day, Kingpin,
I remember like the Palacio event in Greece.
Yeah, exactly. And he was already at a very high skill level, right? But then he changed from being part of the journalistic crowd to actually be part of the industry. And he moved to Foxconn in 2006 and joined a program that they called Quantum Force.
Okay, so there he got some engineering responsibilities. Right?
he was allowed to start designing his own board. I think the first one was the X58 Black Ops, which is a great board for the quad cores back then, which is Yorksfield and Kensfield, but not so great for Wolfdale and FSB overclocking. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing about this Quantum Force is that it's the first time that overclockers could get involved in product development without having to, without the need of having those industry ties. So the Quantum Force program was open to everyone. Just had to send in an application saying or proving that you've done liquid nitrogen in the past and you know what you're talking about, basically. Okay, yeah. But everyone could get in. So in 2006, 2007, he worked at Foxconn. But
so after that he changed, right?
Yeah, the support at Foxconn wasn't that great. Yeah. I mean, it's a massive company, and I understand that the desktop, the support for desktop products is not that big. So he changed to EVJ.
Yeah, that was the first time I met him. Yeah.
And then at EVJ, he did a lot of wonderful things. I think there's 3 products where you could actually see the influence of Shamino.
With the SR motherboard, right?
So you start with the X58 classified motherboard, which was a fantastic board for base clock overclocking. He was the first one, or that was the first board that managed to go above 222 megahertz BCLK.
Well, no one at the time could figure out what was going on.
Yeah, and it's the best board for BCLK overclocking on X58. Yeah. It blew away a lot of the other boards. Yeah, Rampage 2 Extreme was not a match for the X58 classified, and overclockers went nuts over it. And then you had the P55 classified, which came around for Linfield and Clarkdale. And a lot of people don't know this or forgotten this, but the main reason why we can overclock and benchmark our Clarkdale CPUs cold bug free is because Shamino figured out what was holding back the CPUs. All the other boards had a cold boot bug around -100, cold bug around -100, and the P55 classified was the first one. Yeah, it was the first one that could clock those chips without any cold bug. And it took a couple of months for other vendors to pick up on what they did on the P55 classified.
At that time, Gigabyte was running Go C, and MSI was already running MOA.
Yeah, exactly.
On the same actual chipset, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was one of those. I mean, imagine that Shamino hadn't been there. Would we still be overclocking these Clarkdales?
It would probably have been a lot less fun.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last project is maybe even the most impressive one. It's the SR2 motherboard, where dual CPU, quad SLI with LN2 on the NOR bridge, basically 7 LN2 containers in one system. It's a massive system, and that SR2 motherboard made Xeon's clock so high that in the next generation Intel locked it.
Okay, yeah, so they saw that and were like, nah.
I'm not sure if
we can let that happen.
I'm not sure if it's specifically because of that reason, but it's a funny fact that Shamino made them clock so high that they have to be locked.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And that's probably the same. Well, it's kind of the same funny fact that happened with the HWBot. HWBot is a little device.
Yeah, gave the red light. And that was it. Right?
It's a little device that you can use on EVJ classified graphic cards.
You plug it on the graphic cards. Yes. It has a wire, and it's a bit like that's a bit like what Shamino worked on at ASUS, right? But for the motherboard.
Yeah, exactly. So you plug it in, and then you can increase the voltage and the frequency. Yeah. And NVIDIA doesn't like it, so NVIDIA says no, you cannot do this anymore.
Yeah.
So after EVJ, he went to ASUS, and the work at ASUS that he did was a little bit different from Foxconn and EVJ, because at ASUS there was already a team that could build reliable overclocking motherboards.
Well, I think the main difference is also ASUS is a much bigger company. They already had a series, which was the ROG series. They probably had, like you said, a team already working on it. And since it's a really big company, like someone they might not get straight ahead the big you can do whatever you like, but you have to work with the teams, right?
So he started out working on the Rampage 3 Extreme, and then did the Maximus, I think from Maximus 3 up to Maximus 6 series.
5, 6.
And the most innovative work he did on those motherboard series was maybe not the overclocking capabilities, although the Rampage 4 Black Extreme is the one that when everyone was talking about Ivy Bridge E and the memory overclocking. Everyone was
there
talking
was a
about,
card we were
oh,
talking
Ivy
about,
Bridge E is going to be doing DDR3 3000. And the day Ivy Bridge E launches, that board shows DDR3 4000 quad channel. Just to say, like, what is this? The overclocking capability, right? But what he mainly changed on those boards.
The tools and accessories.
Yeah, exactly. So he builds all these, or he adds all this gear that he needs for overclocking, and he just puts it on the motherboard.
Whole ecosystem, right?
Yeah. So he puts it on the motherboard. Whatever he needs, he puts it on the motherboard.
So you need reading points, you get it on the motherboard.
Yeah, exactly. If you need the thermometer, just add it on the motherboard.
But if you want to photo the frequency live of what you're benching, OC key.
If you want to overclock your graphics card, no problem. VJ hot plug is on the motherboard. Yeah. And he builds this OC panel as well. Yeah. Oh, you need extra fan headers? No problem. It's on this little device.
Yeah, the OC panel does pretty much everything an overclocker needs, right?
That is, So like all the products that he builds, Peter is a very, very humble man. So every time you ask him, hey, you tell him, hey, you did a fantastic job, he would say, well, the entire team did a fantastic job. But there is a constant at Foxconn, at EVJ, and at ASUS that there's always one man turning up, right?
And every time for you on HWBot, you saw submissions going up for those specific brands, right? So this is what you call the Shamino effect, right?
Wherever Shamino went, overclockers went as well.
Yeah.
So you can clearly see the bump in usage for boards.
So the question is now, what's going to happen now he left, right? What is ASUS going to do with their boards? Where are overclockers going to go, right? Like, are they going to continue to follow like that ASUS bump that Shamino initiated, or is maybe now Gigabyte taking slowly over as
Gigabyte has
Gigabyte
has HiCookie, and ASRock has Nixu, and MSI has Pippi, and then Top PC as well. So all the other vendors are actually getting their in-house overclockers, where ASUS seems to be shedding them.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Andre
Yang
left as well.
Left, Shamino left. There's no more in-house overclocker at ASUS right now, working at HQ. Or if there is, it's someone that they trained while they were there.
Well,
right?
there are still in-house overclockers, but I'm not sure if there are any working in the engineering team.
On the development team, yeah.
That is the most important thing, right?
Yeah, because like HiCookie is working on the development.
Yeah.
Same thing for MSI.
Same thing for Nixu. Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity there.
It's probably part of what will be 2014, right?
So we're gonna talk about that probably in the next episode. Until then, have a nice day and see you.
All right, see you guys. Bye.